Picks. This is week 11, part 6. I'm Tony T with our college football pick show here for week 11 action. Well, it's part 6, so we'll have the remaining 10 games for you. These are all Saturday games, as you would know. Before we get started, just a couple of things. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Free college football picks are updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports. We also have NFL. We have college basketball, NBA, European football, and more. So it's a good NHL, and it's a good time to subscribe. And also, if you would support our channel, hit that thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. Then visit Tony'sPicks.com. We're a multi-capper site showcasing top cappers in our industry. Click the links to the hot cappers and get signed up to some of our long-term passes or hot cappers like Ramon, who's been on absolute fire. We have Mindy, who's been hot. Tiffany's been hot up here on the boards. I've been doing well in college football and NFL. Nick as well. Click the links to get signed up to some of our long-term passes. You'll find our premium picks here on the center of the page. Our best bets right here as well. Each capper can release one best bet per sport per day. You can see we have some best bets up there right now. $15 premium pick is a play from each capper's card. They can release one of their premium picks as a $15 premium pick, a promotional item to showcase their services to new and existing customers. You see, someone makes good impressions. Some of the best bets here released here as a $15 pick. Also, our 3-packs, very popular selection there with 3-packs on the board. And as you scroll down, you'll see that we have a pick ticker. You can also purchase plays a la carte individually here on our pick ticker. So check that one out. Also, our promo code, you can save 20% off all premium pick packages. When you use the promo code TonyT at checkout, you can access our page by clicking the link in the description. Click the All Cappers tab and get signed up. Also, love to hear from you guys, so post your picks in the comments below. And we're also looking for handicappers. You can apply over on our footer page at Tony's Picks and our podcast, every pick in podcast form at Tony's Picks, the podcast available on all major platforms. All right, let's go ahead. Let's get this one started. TCU versus Texas, college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. TCU improved to 9-0 with their 34-24 home win to Texas Tech. Horned Frogs gained 429 yards with 234 rushing on 51 carries. On defense, they allowed nearly 5 yards per rush to the Red Raiders with 157 passing on 32 attempts. Max Duggan had a season-low 52% completion rate with 8.5 yards per attempt. He threw for 195 yards and 2 touchdowns. This season, Duggan 66% completion rate, 9.9 yards per attempt. His top receiver, Quentin Johnson, is questionable with an ankle. Texas is 6-3 after their 34-27 road win in Kansas State. Longhorns gained 486 yards, 269 rushing on 40 carries. Defensively, they limited Kansas State to 4 yards per carry with 329 passing on 36 attempts. Quinn Ewers completed 58% with a season-low 6.4 yards per attempt. On the year, Ewers a 58% completion rate, 7.7 yards per attempt. Without his top receiver, Duggan found a way to get past Texas Tech by 10 at home. Past 3 games, Horned Frogs defense holding teams to 388 yards. In this period, Texas allowing 469 yards, 350 passing for 8.1 yards per attempt. The player will be on at TCU plus 7.5. Southern Miss versus Coastal Carolina. College football pick Saturday. Southern Miss fell to 5-4 with their 42-14 home defeat to Georgia State. Golden Eagles produced a season-low 202 yards with 33 rushing on 28 carries. Defensively, they surrendered 388 rushing yards on 59 carries and limited the Panthers' passing game. Zach Wild completed 33%, 5.2 yards per attempt. Backup Jack Lang saw action and went 4-7 for 38 yards and a pick. Third string Trey Lowe saw work and went 6-14 for 84 yards and a touchdown. Coastal Carolina moved to 8-1 with their 35-28 home win to Appalachian State. Chanticleers gained 476 yards, 192 rushing on 45 carries. On defense, they held the Mountaineers to under 4 yards a carry with 279 passing on 28 attempts. Bryce Carpenter will start for an injured Grayson McCall. He has 4 seasons at the program, saw significant action in 2019 and 2021. He has thrown for 4 passes this year in relief of McCall. Last year, he completed 59% of his passes with 7 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Both teams dealing with quarterback issues, but Southern Miss looks far worse. On the road, the Golden Eagles averaging only 2.1 yards a carry. At home, the Chanticleers run better. The player will be Coastal Carolina, -5. Texas A&M and Auburn, a college football pick Saturday. Texas A&M fell to 3-6 with their 41-24 home defeat to Florida. Aggies gained 403 yards in this one, 134 rushing on 25 attempts. Defensively, they surrendered nearly 6 yards per carry to the Gators. 201 passing yards on 28 attempts. Connor Wegman missed the game due to the flu, but his practice this week on the season, Wegman completed 61% of his passes, 7.3 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns. Auburn fell to 3-6 with their 39-33 road defeat in overtime to Mississippi State. Tigers gained 331 yards with 256 rushing on 46 attempts. They limited the Bulldogs to under a yard per rush with 357 passing on 62 attempts. Robbie Ashford, a season low 32% completions, 3.4 yards per attempt. This season, Ashford a 50% completion rate, 7 yards per attempt. Wegman back will spark this Aggies offense. Past 3 games, Auburn defense giving up 489 yards, 5.5 yards per rush, 140 passing. The play here will be on Texas A&M plus the 1.5. Florida State versus Syracuse, college football pick Saturday. Florida State is 6-3 after their 45-3 road win at Miami. Seminoles posted 454 yards in the win, 229 rushing on 49 carries. On defense, Florida State allowed 4 yards per rush with 62 passing yards on 19 attempts. Jordan Travis, season highs here, 83% completions in this completion rate in this one. He threw for 202 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Travis this season a 63% completion rate, 17 touchdowns, 4 picks, and 9.1 yards per attempt. Syracuse fell to 6-3 after their 19-9 road defeat at Pittsburgh. Orange, a season low 145 yards, 25 rushing on 25 attempts. Offensively, they allowed just over 3 yards per rush with 175 passing on 24 attempts. Carlos Del Rio Wilson completed 35% of his passes, 5.2 yards per attempt. On the year, Del Rio Wilson a 44% completion rate, 6.8 yards per attempt. Orange defense has played well at home, holding teams to 295 yards, 3.5 yards per rush. They're holding teams to 17.7 points a game in their stadium. Orange quarterback situation a major concern as their offensive production has dropped considerably the past 3 games as they're averaging just 241 yards a game. Play here will be Florida State and Syracuse under 51. California versus Oregon State, college football pick Saturday. California fell to 3-6 with their 41-35 road defeat at USC. Golden Bears gained 469 yards, 63 rushing on 24 carries. Offensively, they allowed 5 yards per rush to the Trojans with 360 passing on 28 attempts. Jack Plummer in this one completed 71%, 8.3 yards per attempt. He threw for 406 yards, many of it in the second half. 3 touchdowns and an interception. On the year, Plummer 62% completion rate, 7 yards per attempt. Oregon State 6-3 with their 24-21 road defeat at Washington. Beavers a season low 262 yards, 175 rushing on 40 attempts. Defensively, they allowed 4 yards per rush to the Huskies with 298 passing on 52 attempts. Ben Gulbranson completed 63% of his passes in defeat with a season low 4.6 yards per attempt. On the year, Gulbranson 62% completion rate, 7.7 yards per attempt. Cal is just really a one-dimensional team without a good running game. Past 3 games, they're throwing for 326 yards and 7.7 yards per attempt. The play here will be on California plus 13.5. Stanford versus Utah, college football pick Saturday. Stanford fell to 3-6 with their 52-14 home defeat to Washington State. Cardinal gained 337 yards, 71 rushing on 28 carries. Offensively, they surrendered 7.5 yards per rush to the Cougars with 208 passing on 34 attempts. Tanner McKee completed 57% of his passes, 5.9 yards per attempt. This season, McKee a 61% completion rate, 6.9 yards per attempt. Utah, they're 7-2 after their 45-20 home win to Arizona. Utes produced 457 yards, 306 rushing on 55 carries. Offensively, they allowed 6 yards per rush to the Wildcats with 231 passing on 30 attempts. Cameron Rising returned and hit on 52% in the win with 6 yards per attempt. He threw for 151 yards and a touchdown. Now this year, Rising a 67% completion rate, 16 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 8.4 yards per attempt. Past 3 games, Stanford defense allowing 464 yards, 6.5 yards per rush, 7 yards per pass attempt. Utes running for 5.3 yards a carry in this period. Play will be Utah minus the 23.5. Arizona versus UCLA, college football pick Saturday. Arizona dropped at 3-6 with their 45-20 road defeat at Utah. Wildcats gained 387 yards in this one, 156 rushing on 25 carries. Defensively, the Wildcats limited the Utes' passing game but allowed 306 rushing yards on 55 carries. Jane DeLaura completed 50% in defeat with 8 yards per attempt. He threw for a season low 159 yards on the season. DeLaura, 62% completion rate, 8.3 yards per attempt. UCLA improved to 8-1 with their 50-36 road win at Arizona State. Bruins posted a Pac-12 high, 571 yards, 402 rushing on 42 attempts. Defensively, they limited ASU on the ground for less than 4 yards per rush, with 349 passing on 49 attempts. Dorian Thompson-Robinson completed 65% of his passes, 8.5 yards per attempt. He rushed for 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Arizona has allowed 45 or greater points in every Pac-12 game but one. That exception was against a down Colorado team. Bruins have covered 4 or 5 at home. The play here will be, Bruins have covered 4 or 5 at home against the Wildcats. The play here will be on UCLA minus the 19.5. San Jose State versus San Diego State. College football pick. This one is on Saturday. San Jose State improved to 6-2 with their 28-16 home victory to Colorado State. Spartans gained 355 yards in this one, 81 rushing on 21 carries. On defense, the Spartans allowed nearly 4 yards per rush with 333 passing yards on 34 attempts. They did produce 9 sacks. Chevan Corriero completed 64% of his passes with 6.5 yards per attempt. He threw for 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. On the season, Corriero a 60% completion rate, 7.6 yards per attempt. San Diego State, they're 5-4 after their 14-10 home win to UNLV. Aztecs posted 315 yards, 99 rushing on 41 attempts. On defense, they allowed 3.5 yards per rush to the Rebels with 207 passing on 27 attempts. Jalen Maiden completed 61% of his passes, 7 yards per attempt. He passed for 216 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. This season, Maiden is completing 64% of his passes, 8.5 yards per attempt. Aztecs pass defense passed 3 games, allowing 264 yards with 7 yards per attempt. Spartans in that period throwing for 302 yards and 6.8 yards per attempt. Teams with good passing games have scored points on the San Diego State defense. Play here will be on the San Diego State defense. Play here will be on San Jose State at minus 2.5. Boise State versus Nevada. College football pick Saturday. Boise fell to 6-3 after their 31-28 home defeat to BYU. Broncos gained 324 yards with 104 rushing on 30 carries. Defensively, the Broncos allowed nearly 5 yards per rush to the Cougars with 377 passing yards on 42 attempts. Taylon Green completed 74% of his passes in the loss with 8.5 yards per attempt. He threw for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the season, Green has completed 68%, 8.1 yards per attempt. Nevada drops at 2-7 with their 35-28 road defeat at San Jose State. Wolfpack gained 293 yards in this one, 70 rushing on 38 attempts. On defense, they held San Jose State to under 1 yard per carry with 340 passing on 45 attempts. Shane Illingworth completed 62% of his passes, 7.7 yards per attempt. He had 223 passing yards with a touchdown and a pick. On the year, Illingworth, 62% completion rate with a career low 5.5 yards per attempt. Boise State has picked up the offensive production since the quarterback change. This is a Nevada team that is rebuilding. Past 3 games, the Wolfpack is averaging only 256 yards a game. Play here will be Boise State minus 20.5. Utah State versus Hawaii. College football pick Saturday. Utah State sits at 4-5 after their 27-10 home win to New Mexico. Aggies put up 280 yards with 131 rushing on 41 carries. Defensively, they limited the Lobos' passing game and allowed 216 rushing on 46 carries. Cooper Legis completed 48% of his passes with 5.5 yards per pass attempt. He passed for 149 yards and a touchdown. This season, Legis, 60% completion rate, 6.2 yards per attempt. Hawaii 2-8 after a 55-13 road defeat at Fresno State. Warriors gained 362 yards with 158 rushing on 34 carries. Defensively, they surrendered 6 yards per rush with 327 passing yards on 29 carries. Brain Shager completed 50% of his passes, 5.1 yards per attempt. He passed for 204 yards with a touchdown and pick. On the season, Shager, a 56% completion rate, 5.7 yards per attempt. Aggies have struggled on the road. They've averaged just 284 yards while giving up 437 yards with 5.7 yards per rush. Prior to their loss at Fresno State, the Warriors had covered 6 of 7. Play here will be Hawaii at plus the 10.5. That was our college football pick show here for Saturday. That was part 6 for week 11. So we got all the games in. Be sure to like and subscribe. Set notifications so anytime our videos drop, you get notified. We'll have more picks later on with NBA as well as college basketball a little later. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll lead you up to the morning show at 9 a.m. each time with Mindy and